Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. So today I've got a quick first impressions review for you of the new release from Lancôme, which is La VIE BELLE Iris Absolue. Now, when I first saw this new release, I was really excited. I thought it would be a fragrance I would absolutely love. And the other week I had the chance to try it for myself, so I wore it for a full day and I also sprayed a tester card, which I can still kind of smell. So first of all, like the opening of the fragrance, the first spray, I was really pleasantly surprised by this. It was a beautiful, like creamy, buttery, powdery, irisy scent that you get when you first spray this. It had a really nice, like kind of creamy, powdery, thick texture to it. Really very different to the original La VIE BELLE. And actually I found it to be much better balanced with the sweetness, the iris, like the slightly cold iris, balanced the sweetness. Because with the original La VIE BELLE, you know, the first application, it's quite punchy. I find like it's almost slightly harsh, just with how sweet it is and how in your face it kind of is and how strong it is. But certainly with the opening of this new Iris Absolue, I found it to be much more balanced, much softer, still very strong, but just a bit more interesting, more sophisticated for sure than the original, and you definitely get a lot of that irisy note. Again, as I say, it's creamy, it's buttery, it's powdery, it's very feminine, quite luxurious as well, I would say. So honestly, when I first sprayed this fragrance, I was just in love with it. I was really impressed. One thing I will also say about this fragrance is the bottle is stunning. It's very similar to all of the other ones in the line, except this one has a kind of a textured, smooth ripple in the glass. So it has this almost like glass art quality, the sculptural kind of quality, which I really love. I thought it was absolutely stunning. So after an hour or so, I found the fragrance became much sweeter the longer that it was on my skin. And I believe there's a kind of note of berries in here. And it almost came through as like a slightly synthetic, syrupy berry dessert. This fragrance really did remind me a lot of another perfume, which I can't quite remember the name of. I think it's Ferragamo Signorina or something. It's in this kind of like black bottle with a bow, and that fragrance is very much about the berries and this like sugary berry dessert type of scent profile. So they did remind me very much of each other. I will try and find a photo of that fragrance I'm referring to, just so you know which one I'm on about. But for me, the two fragrances were very similar. So if you imagine a bowl of like sugary berries in syrup with like whipped cream, it was kind of like that level of like sugary sweetness, slightly synthetic, kind of maybe slightly juvenile in nature. It definitely didn't retain that sophisticated sort of vibe from the first application. So as I say, after an hour or so, it becomes more about the berries and the orange blossom in the fragrance, I would say. You do definitely get that like sticky, syrupy nature to it, which I think if you're really into your very sweet perfumes and if you loved the original La VIE BELLE, then this may be the fragrance for you, because in fact, the more the fragrance develops, the more I found it was similar to the original La VIE BELLE and less about the iris. So I'm just about to run out of battery. I hope I've got enough time just to kind of summarize. The way that the fragrance developed, in the sense of becoming more about the berries and more like a sweet sugary dessert and less about the iris, that's very much how the fragrance remained throughout the rest of the dry down, and it almost had like a slight sharpness to it as well, I would say, probably from the berry notes, but overall it just wasn't really for me. As far as the lasting power and the overall projection of this scent is concerned, to me it was very similar to the other La VIE BELLES in the line. So again, very strong, quite potent, long lasting, but I would say this one was probably slightly softer. It wasn't quite as punchy and not quite as loud as the original La VIE BELLE and the other ones in the line. It was slightly more like toned down, I would say, which for me personally works a bit better actually, because I find the original one to be almost like a bit too strong. But I would say overall it was kind of on par, like strength-wise, but maybe slightly softer than the original La Vie Belle. The first spray of the fragrance was beautiful, but the way that it settled and the remainder of the wear, as I say, it was more about this kind of like sugary, orange blossom, berry, whipped cream kind of dessert, which sounds quite nice, but there was a sort of sharpness in there, and I did find it overall just far too sweet. So those are my first impressions of La Vie Belle Iris Absolue. The first spray was beautiful, but unfortunately the way that it developed on my skin, personally, it just wasn't for me. Let me know in the comments if you've tried this one. Did it work for you? Do you enjoy the La Vie Belle line? I'd really be interested to hear. But thank you so much for watching, take care, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye!